Hello, welcome to our Fair Planet series on the current conflict ongoing in Israel and Palestine. Today, I'm very pleased to speak to Tareq Abu Hamed, the Executive Director of the Arava Institute and founder of the Center for Renewable Energy and Energy Conservation, formerly the Israeli Ministry of Science's Deputy Chief Scientist and Acting Chief Scientist, the highest-ranking Palestinian in the Israeli government. Today, he works on regional cooperation through applied environmental diplomacy. I wanted to start by asking you how you were. Where am I speaking to you from? And yes, how are you feeling at the moment?
Okay, first of all, thank you very much for having us. We are physically okay, doing well. I'm talking to you now from East Jerusalem, from my home. These days are really difficult days. What happened on the 7th of October is just horrible. Neither the brain or the heart can handle. But these days, the work of the Arava Institute is more important than ever, and we will continue doing this work. We are okay. We're trying to navigate our work through these difficult days.
I wanted to ask you how the work of the Arava Institute has changed within the context, very specifically of kind of the past couple of months, and yeah, how it's had to adapt it, and if there's been anything productive from those adaptations.
Yeah, look, the first of all, let me give you just very short overview of the work of the Arava Institute. We are an academic and research institution that advances cross-border environmental cooperation in the face of the political conflict. We bring Palestinians, Israelis, internationals, Jordanians, Moroccans together to our academic program. They study together. And we also implement projects all over the region, in Israel, in the West Bank, in Gaza, in Jordan. And we believe that the most scarce resource in this region is trust. And we try to use science and environment as a diplomacy tool to connect between people, to build the bridges, to give them the opportunity to have open dialogue, to build understanding and trust. Without that trust, we cannot deal with the environmental and the daily challenges of our region. And to have a sustainable partnership, to have a sustainable projects in the region, that should be based on trust and equal partnerships with our partners in the West Bank, Gaza, in Jordan, also within Israel. Since the 7th of October, our focus is just on empathy, solidarity, to keep in communication with our Palestinian, Jordanian partners. And when I say Palestinian partners, I mean in the West Bank and also in Gaza. And as you know, we have projects in Gaza before the 7th of October. Most of them were damaged. Projects that are producing drinking water, projects to treat the wastewater in Gaza, solar energy. Some of these projects still working. Our communication with our Gazan partners, again, as I said, just to show solidarity and to plan with them for the day after. So currently we are working on what we call an action plan for Gaza. It's a kind of a Marshall plan. We know that rebuilding Gaza will take years, especially the infrastructure. And we at the Arava Institute have the know-how, have the right technology that we can implement immediately after the war ends. Projects like drinking water generation through desalination or through atmospheric water generators, off-grid systems to treat the wastewater in Gaza, solar electricity, capacity building for engineers and technicians. So our main focus right now is just on empathy, solidarity, plans for the day after. But the most important thing that we managed to keep the communication channel open with our partners, and we also continued our semester. Right now, we have students at the Arava Institute who are studying together, Palestinians, Israelis, and probably this is the only place in the Middle East that you can find Israelis and Palestinians that who are willing to continue being together.
I wanted to ask about the youth engagement with the education plans and kind of shaping students' views and this idea of kind of interaction, open dialogues. Where did that idea kind of come from, and how originally was it implemented?
Yeah, look, since the first day of the establishment of the Arava Institute, it was established as an academic institution after the peace treaties with Israel and its neighbors. And our goal is really to produce or prepare the future leaders, the future environmental leaders of the region to work together. This region shares most of the natural resources. We share the same air, we share the water. Most of the aquifers in this region are shared. And without preparing future leaders who trust each other, you cannot deal with these environmental challenges. If you don't have partners in Jordan, if you don't have partners in Palestine, you cannot deal with the pollution that happens in this region, because it sometimes generates from Jordan, sometimes generates from Israel, and we have to work together. That's why we established this academic program to prepare the future leaders that can work together to solve the regional environmental problems that we have. But again, it's a unique academic program. We one third of our students are Arabic speakers. Israeli Arabs, Palestinians from the West Bank, Gaza, Jordanians, Moroccans, Sudanese, one third Jewish Israelis, and one third internationals from Europe, South America, Africa, and also the North America. And in order to have a healthy program, you can imagine when you put in a classroom a Palestinian from a refugee camp or Palestinian from Gaza in the same classroom with an Israeli who just finished his or her army service. Uh, Sometimes you have very hard discussions, they cry, they shout. And in order to have that healthy program, academic program, we designed what we call the dialogue forum. In this dialogue forum, students talk about politics, religion, culture, family stories, personal stories. We have trips in the region, and we give them, through this academic program, the opportunity to see the human in the other. And this is what's missing in this region. This is how they become leaders. This is how they become environmentalists that really care and see the other as a partner and not an enemy.
Mm. And in terms of the environmental cooperation, I wanted to ask about kind of adaptation and the potential for renewable energy in the region. Is there work with this consensus from both sides of kind of I guess the ongoing conflict? Is there work in that sector?
Yes, we do work. We do work on the climate change adaptation. We at the Arava Institute develop technologies to help people in the region to adapt to climate change with the water scarcity, with the heat waves, cold waves. Help farmers to use solar energy for water pumping, for agri-photovoltaics, the dual use of land. So yes, we do use some adaptation technologies, and we implement them in the region. Not only projects on solar energy, also the off-grid wastewater treatment systems, because the recycled water can be used by farmers. And we know this region is famous with its water scarcity, and with the climate change, we know that this problem will just become more and more. And the same thing also to give the people in this region the right techniques to adapt to climate change, sustainable agricultural methods, conversion of organic wastes into fuel or into compost to be used in farms.
Are you concerned that as the climate situation gets more dire, the polarization is going to become kind of broader, almost the opposite of the work of the Arava Institute? And what can then more of the international community, or I mean, it sounds like the Arava Institute is one of the kind of only working organizations in this field. What can other organizations in the region be doing as well?
Look, we are an environmental institution through our academic program and also through the research programs that we have. We are a non-governmental organization. That means we have the opportunity not only to do scientific research but also to work with the communities, and we strongly believe that environment is a great diplomacy tool. It's not only that we solve environmental challenges of the region, but we also build bridges between people. Other organizations can use that technique and the diplomacy technique, the science diplomacy, the environmental diplomacy to build bridges and reduce the polarization in the world. Look, climate change is not only an environmental challenge; it's also first degree security challenge for the region. We know in our region here, we see people migrate because of climate, because of the water scarcity, because of the deforestation, because of the desertification that we see in the region. People do not have enough water to continue their agricultural activities, and they migrate from their farms to the city centers, and that increases the instability in these centers. So that's also a security challenge. And by helping people to adapt to climate change, helping people to see the human in the other through the environmental diplomacy or science diplomacy, these are great examples that many organizations around the world can use, not only to solve environmental challenges but to build the trust and understanding between different communities.
Mm. And on a more specific note, I wanted to ask you about the Gaza marine gas field and the role you think that this will play if and when there's a ceasefire in potentially being a part of kind of a peace building process. Or what do you think will happen there?
Look, I'm not an expert of natural gas, and we concentrate mainly on renewable energy resources and environmental challenges. But look, this is a great opportunity for the Palestinians and also for the region to use this gas to build new relationships with the neighbors, to rebuild the Gaza and fix the social economical situation there. Indeed, it has a great potential.
Mm. And how is the war particularly affecting your work in terms of the climate effects of it, and also as we see kind of the security effects, but also the safety and medical effects as well?
Look, indeed, the war affected our work. Currently, we cannot implement projects in Gaza. We're just planning for the day after
Mm,
in Gaza and also in the West Bank. And again, our main focus is to keep these partnerships alive, to keep the communication channels alive. We will see, because of the war, we will see less interest from maybe internationals for more cooperation or more less students in our academic program because of the war. But again, during these days, dialogue is the only thing that can rebuild the trust, and we need to connect people, not to disconnect them. The war
mm,
has an impact on us, but at the same time, it's a great motivation for us to continue this work. I think the major threat for this region is the disconnection between communities, between societies, between the Israeli society and the Palestinian society. And I think the war probably will push people to rethink about this issue, and give them maybe the opportunity to explore what is our neighbor, who is our neighbor, and through programs like the Arava Institute, they can have that opportunity to connect through dialogue.
mm. And how can that work kind of on the ground in in the region itself be supported? What do you, by kind of more of the international community, kind of what would you hope for our readership to be helping or contributing to support that work?
Look, the international community can play a significant role here by supporting the civil society organizations like the Arava Institute to do more work, more projects, to expand the work that we have. And when I say the international community, it's not only the governments, but also the United Nations, the World Bank, and organizations like the Arava Institute. They have the know-how, they have the right technologies that can be implemented immediately on the ground in Gaza to help people have clean drinking water, to treat the wastewater. These projects can serve the communities until the infrastructure built in these regions. And again, as the dialogue is the most important thing, and helping organizations like the Arava Institute by bringing students or supporting scholarships for students to come study at the Arava Institute, this will also help the normal people to be exposed in the right way to the other.
Mm. And as someone kind of on the ground experiencing the conflict itself right now, would you have any kind of almost concrete ideas apart from having this open dialogue and building trust as to how this can come to an end? Um, I know that your expert is in environmentalism, not kind of necessarily politics, but you have worked kind of within politics. Any thoughts on that?
Look, this region tried everything except one thing, which is the sustainable peace. Peace between people, not peace on paper between governments, and this is what is needed in this region. And this can only happen through dialogue between the people of the of the region. And I look, I strongly believe that no one of us in this region has the luxury to give up on things that we believe in. I believe in dialogue to build trust and understanding to have a sustainable peace, and that's the only way to stop these cycles of conflicts and wars in the region. We need to invest in bottom-up approaches and not only top-down approaches. But you have to include civil society organizations in the peace process. You need to help people to feel and benefit from the fruits of peace. Otherwise, peace is not peace.
What do you think is the main obstruction to this? Why isn't this being? I mean, obviously now, but there's been an ongoing conflict. Why isn't this kind of been, apart from Arava, implemented before?
Look, I think we do not have this sustainable peace because of the disconnection. I think the largest loss of this region is that the Palestinian society lost the support of the Israeli society, and the Israeli society lost the support of the Palestinian society. So the major challenge is the disconnection between the societies here in the region, and any effort to bring people together to connect these societies will indeed play a significant role to advance the sustainable peace.
Mm. Well, thank you very much for answering my questions, and it was a pleasure to speak to you today. And we will put the link below for the Arava Institute for anyone who wants to look at it and see how they can support or get involved. Again, Tareq, thank you so much. It was a pleasure to speak to you.
Thank you very much for having me.